The Stolen Years. The envelope was addressed to my sister, but it was sitting in my mailbox like a ticking bomb. My name is Jessica, and I should have minded my own business, should have walked that letter right over to Madison's pristine doorstep and handed it over with a smile. But when you're surviving on instant ramen, and your 6-year-old asks why he can't have the cereal with the toy inside, you tend to notice things like how your sister drives a brand new Porsche while lecturing you about financial responsibility. "Mommy, can we get the good mac and cheese today?" Tyler tugged at my work uniform as we stood in the grocery store staring at the wall of orange boxes. The good stuff cost $3 more. $3 that meant choosing between his lunch money and keeping the lights on. "Not today, baby, but look!" I grabbed the generic box, forcing enthusiasm into my voice. "This one has a dinosaur on it. That's way cooler, right?" He nodded, but I caught the disappointment flickering across his face. 6 years old, and he was already learning to swallow his wants. The guilt twisted in my stomach like a knife. My phone buzzed. Madison. "Hey, sis, family dinner Sunday. Mom's making her famous pot roast. You and Tyler better be there. No excuses this time." I stared at the text, jaw clenching. Her famous pot roast that I'd helped pay for somehow. There was always a catch with these family dinners. Always some way I'd leave feeling smaller than when I arrived. Sunday came like a death sentence. I dressed Tyler in his one good shirt and drove my rattling Toyota to my parents' house. The same house where Madison now lived, rent-free, while I scraped together $900 a month for a one-bedroom apartment that smelled like cigarettes. "Jessica!" Mom's voice carried that particular pitch reserved for wayward children and disappointing investments. "You're late!" "Traffic," I lied, unwrapping the store-bought pie I'd grabbed from the discount rack. Around the table sat the usual suspects: Mom, Dad, Madison, and a few cousins who'd managed to avoid whatever curse had landed on my head. Madison swept into the dining room, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. New jewelry caught the light as she moved, delicate gold pieces that whispered expensive in a way my Target earrings never could. "Oh, Jessica." She pulled me into one of those hugs that felt more like a performance. "You look tired. Are you sleeping enough?" "Hard to sleep when you work 2 jobs, I said, settling Tyler into his chair. "Still at the diner?" Dad's voice carried that familiar edge of disappointment. "And the cleaning service. Someone has to pay the bills." "Well, if Marcus wasn't such a deadbeat," Madison started. "Don't." The word came out sharper than I intended. "Just don't." An uncomfortable silence settled over the table. Tyler looked between the adults, sensing the tension, but not understanding it. My ex-husband had become the family's favorite villain, the convenient explanation for why I struggled while everyone else seemed to thrive. "I'm just saying," Madison continued, her voice dripping with practiced sympathy. "It's not fair that you have to carry this burden alone. That man should be supporting his son." The others nodded in agreement. Poor Jessica, abandoned by her worthless husband. Poor Jessica, too proud to ask for help. Poor Jessica, making everyone uncomfortable with her obvious poverty. After dinner, Madison cornered me in the kitchen while I helped with dishes. "Here," she pressed an envelope into my hands. "It's not much, but maybe it'll help with groceries this week." I opened it. $250. Enough to buy the good mac and cheese for a month. Maybe catch up on the electric bill. But the way she watched me, like she was feeding a stray cat, made my skin crawl. "Thank you," I managed. "We're family," she said, but something in her tone felt off, rehearsed. "We take care of each other." That night, I tucked Tyler into bed and sat in my kitchen staring at the money. Family help always came with invisible strings attached, little reminders of my place in the hierarchy. But what choice did I have? I was sorting through mail the next morning when I found it. The envelope addressed to Madison Richards, delivered to my box by mistake. The return address made my blood run cold. County Court Services, Child Support Division. My hands shook as I held it. This had to be a mistake. Marcus hadn't paid child support in 6 years. The court had given up trying to collect from him long ago. But there it was, in black and white, official lettering. And suddenly, all those expensive clothes and mysterious generosity started making a different kind of sense. I stared at that envelope for 4 hours before I opened it. Tyler was at kindergarten, and I'd called in sick to both jobs, something I never did because I couldn't afford to lose the pay. But this envelope felt like it might contain a bomb, and I needed to be alone when it exploded. My hands trembled as I slid my finger under the seal. The letterhead was official, intimidating. Notice of payment processing, case number 552847-RS. The words swam in front of my eyes at first, then they snapped into focus with brutal clarity. Payment received, $932.18. Total payments processed, $67,233 over 72 months. Account holder, Madison Richards. Routing number, 552847823479. I read it again, then again. The numbers didn't change. $67,000, 6 years of payments, $932 every single month, like clockwork. I grabbed my laptop and pulled up my bank statements, scrolling back through months of overdraft fees and declined transactions. Nothing. Not a single deposit from child support. Not ever. My phone was in my hand before I realized I was dialing. County Child Support Services. This is Jennifer. Hi. I need to check on payments for case number 552847. I'll need to verify your identity first. Name? Jessica Martinez. I'm the custodial parent. Keys clicked in the background. I show regular payments being processed to the designated account. Is there a problem with the deposits? What account? What's the account number on file? More clicking. I can't give you the full number for security reasons, but it ends in 3479. The account holder is listed as Madison Richards. Is this a joint account? The phone slipped from my numb fingers and clattered onto the kitchen table. Madison. My sister. The same sister who'd been handing me pity money while stealing my son's support payments. I called the number back. I need to speak to a supervisor. Someone has been stealing my child's support payments. 20 minutes later, I had the full story. Marcus had been paying faithfully since our divorce was finalized. Every month, without fail. The payments were being deposited into an account that Madison had somehow gotten authorized to receive them. How is that even possible? I asked the supervisor. The paperwork shows a power of attorney designation. It looks like it was filed by your family's attorney, Kevin Thompson. The custodial parent, that's you, would have had to sign off on this arrangement. I never signed anything like that. Ma'am, I'm looking at your signature right here. My signature on documents I'd never seen. I hung up and immediately called Marcus. We hadn't spoken in 3 years, not since our last screaming match about money and responsibility, and all the ways we'd failed each other. Jessica! His voice was cautious, surprised. Have you been paying child support? Silence stretched between us. Then, of course I have. Every month since the divorce. Why would you? I never got it, not a single payment. That's impossible. It comes right out of my paycheck. I have the stubs. Send them to me, all of them, right now. Jessica, what's going on? Just send them. An hour later, my email chimed. 68 pay stubs, each showing a deduction for child support. $932 every single month. Money that should have kept us fed, housed, stable. Money that would have meant Tyler could have the good cereal, the name-brand shoes, the security of knowing his mother wasn't drowning. I called Madison. Hey sis, what's up? Her voice was so casual, so normal, like she wasn't a thief, like she hadn't been stealing from her own nephew. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Of course. What is it? Have you been receiving Tyler's child support payments? The silence stretched so long, I thought the call had dropped. Madison? Why would you ask that? Because I have documentation showing that Marcus has been paying, and the money's been going to your account. That's ridiculous. Why would I have? I have the court documents, Madison. I know. Her breathing changed. When she spoke again, her voice was different, harder. You don't understand the situation. Then explain it to me. Mom and Dad thought it would be better if the money was managed properly. You were so emotional after the divorce, making poor decisions. You stole from my son. We were protecting. I hung up. My hands were shaking so hard, I could barely hold the phone. $67,000. While I'd worked myself to exhaustion. While Tyler had learned to accept disappointment as normal. While I'd swallowed my pride and accepted their charity, they'd been stealing from us. The envelope sat on my kitchen table like evidence at a crime scene, which I realized was exactly what it was. I took pictures of everything. The letter, the pay stubs, my empty bank statements. Then I Googled family law attorneys near me and started making calls. The first attorney I called wanted $6,000 up front. The second wanted $4,000. The third, Sophia Reyes, agreed to meet me for a consultation after I explained the situation. Bring everything, she said. Every document, every email, every text message. I spent the next 2 days gathering evidence like I was building a case for the FBI. Bank statements, pay stubs, court documents, screenshots of Madison's social media showing off her expensive purchases. The paper trail painted a picture that made me sick. Sophia's office was small but professional. She listened without interrupting as I laid out the whole story, spreading documents across her desk like puzzle pieces. This is fraud, she said finally. Clear-cut financial fraud and identity theft. But I need to understand how they got your signature on the power of attorney. I never signed one. Someone did, and it's notarized. She held up the document. Do you recognize this signature? I stared at it. It looked like mine, but something was off. Too perfect, maybe, like someone had traced it. I called Kevin Thompson, the family attorney, keeping my voice casual. Kevin, it's Jessica. I'm trying to organize my financial records, and I'm missing some paperwork from the divorce. Could you send me copies of everything I signed? Certainly, I'll have my assistant pull the file. Actually, I'm particularly looking for the power of attorney document, the one about the child support payments. Silence. Then, power of attorney? Yes, the one that authorized Madison to receive the payments on my behalf. Jessica, let me check the file and call you back. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Jessica, I think there might be some confusion. I don't show any power of attorney in your file. But the court has one with my signature and your notarization. Another long pause. I need to look into this. Can you come in tomorrow? The next morning, I sat in Kevin's office while he shuffled through files with increasing panic. I don't understand, he kept saying. This document, I don't remember notarizing this. But that's your stamp? Your signature? Yes. But, he pulled out a ledger. I keep records of everything I notarize. This date isn't in my book. So someone forged your notarization? It appears so. Jessica, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Who had access to your stamp, your office? Kevin's face went pale. Madison helped me with filing sometimes. She had keys to the office. Madison hadn't just stolen money. She'd orchestrated an elaborate fraud, forging documents and manipulating everyone around her. I called Madison back, hitting record on my phone app. Jessica, thank God. Look, I know you're upset, but you have to understand. Understand what? That you've been stealing from your nephew? It wasn't stealing. We were helping you. You were a mess after the divorce, making terrible decisions. Someone had to step in. By forging documents? By lying to Marcus? By letting me work 2 jobs while you lived off my son's money? You're being dramatic. We always made sure you had what you needed. $67,000, Madison. You stole $67,000. We invested it. We were growing it for Tyler's future. Where is it now? Silence. Where's the money, Madison? Some of it. We had expenses. The house needed repairs and Mom's medical bills. You spent my son's money on house repairs? It's complicated, Jessica. You wouldn't understand. Try me. but she'd already hung up. I had it all on tape. The admission, the justification, the lies. Everything I needed to destroy her. The family brunch invitation came 4 days later, handwritten on Mom's expensive stationery. Family gathering this Sunday. We need to discuss some concerns. Please come, Mom. I almost laughed. Concerns, like I was the problem. I showed up with Tyler in tow, armed with a small recording device in my purse and a smile that could cut glass. The dining room buzzed with nervous energy. Mom, Dad, Madison, Aunt Carmen, and a few cousins I barely recognized anymore. Jessica, Mom's voice was too bright, too forced. We're so glad you came. Madison sat at the far end of the table, her usual designer outfit replaced with something more subdued. She wouldn't meet my eyes. So, Dad cleared his throat. Your mother tells me there's been some confusion about finances. No confusion, just theft. Aunt Carmen gasped. Jessica, really? That's a serious accusation. It's a serious crime. Now let's all calm down, Mom said, passing around mimosas like alcohol could solve fraud. I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. $67,000 isn't a misunderstanding. Madison finally spoke, her voice small. I was trying to help. Help yourself, you mean? That's enough, Dad snapped. Madison has been nothing but generous to this family. With my son's money. Alleged money, Aunt Carmen interjected. We only have your word that... I pulled out my phone and played the recording of Madison's confession. Her voice filled the room. We invested it. We were growing it for Tyler's future. The silence was deafening. Where's the money now, Madison? I asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. She stared at her plate. Some of it was used for family expenses. What kind of expenses? The house needed a new roof, Mom's medical bills from her surgery, Dad's car repairs. I turned to my parents. So you did know? Mom's face crumpled. We thought, Madison said you had agreed to let her manage the money, that you were having trouble with finances. And you believed that? You believed I would struggle to feed my son while letting my sister manage thousands of dollars? You were so angry after the divorce, Dad said defensively. So emotional. We thought maybe it was better. Better for who? For you, so you could take Hawaiian vacations and buy new cars with my son's money? It wasn't like that, Mom whispered. Then what was it like? Madison suddenly stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I took the money, but I was protecting Tyler from you. The room went dead silent. Protecting him from me? You were a mess, Jessica. Drinking too much, crying all the time, making terrible decisions. Someone had to think about Tyler's future. I worked 2 jobs to support him while you bought designer handbags. I invested most of it. Where? Show me the investment accounts, Madison. Her face went pale. It's complicated. Show me the accounts, Madison. There were some losses. The market. You spent it all, didn't you? She sank back into her chair. Not all of it. How much is left? Maybe $9,000. $9,000 out of $67,000. I felt the room spinning. You stole $58,000 from a 6-year-old child. I was going to pay it back when, after you bought another vacation home? Aunt Carmen cleared her throat. Perhaps we can work out a payment plan. No. I stood up, Tyler's hand in mine. We're past payment plans. I've already filed charges. The room erupted. Mom started crying. Dad started shouting. Cousins started talking over each other. Through it all, Madison sat frozen, staring at me with something that looked like hatred. You can't be serious, Dad said. She's family. Family doesn't steal from children. Think about what this will do to the family name, Mom pleaded. The scandal. Should have thought about that before you spent my son's college fund on roof repairs. I picked up Tyler, who had been quietly coloring through the chaos. Mommy, why is everyone yelling? He whispered. Because sometimes adults make bad choices, baby. But we're going to make it right. As I reached the door, Madison called out, "You'll regret this, Jessica. When you're sitting alone with no family left, you'll regret it." I turned back to face her. "The only thing I regret is trusting you in the first place." "We gave you everything," she screamed. "We helped you when no one else would. You gave me back scraps of what you stole. That's not generosity. That's cruelty." I walked out, Tyler's small hand in mine, leaving behind the sound of my family falling apart. Despite everything, despite the legal proceedings and the family chaos, my parents decided to go ahead with their 45th anniversary celebration. Madison had convinced them it would show strength, that canceling would be admitting defeat. I wasn't invited, but Detective Williams was. "We'll execute the warrant at the party," she explained over the phone. "Maximum impact, and all the witnesses will be in one place." "You want me there?" "As the victim, yes. You have the right to be present when we make the arrest." I arranged for Tyler to stay with the babysitter. My son didn't need to see what was about to happen. Then I put on my best dress, the one I'd worn to job interviews and court dates, and drove to the Ocean View Hotel. The ballroom was exactly as Madison had planned it. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in ivory linens. 250 guests in their finest clothes mingled with champagne glasses, celebrating 45 years of marriage while pretending the family wasn't imploding. I slipped in through a side entrance, staying near the back. My cousin Rebecca spotted me immediately and made her way over. "I can't believe you came. I can't believe they're still having this party." Mom's been crying all week, but Madison convinced her it was the right thing to do. Said the family needed to show unity. "Where is she?" Rebecca nodded toward the front of the room, where Madison stood near the head table in a stunning blue dress, playing hostess like she owned the place. She was laughing with guests, accepting compliments on the beautiful event, basking in the attention. "She's been telling everyone that the legal troubles are just a misunderstanding," Rebecca whispered, "that you're having a breakdown and making false accusations." "Of course she is." My parents sat at the head table, looking older than I'd ever seen them. Dad kept checking his watch, while Mom smiled weakly at well-wishers. They both looked like they were attending a funeral instead of their own anniversary party. The speeches began. Family friends stood up to toast my parents' marriage, their successful business, their wonderful daughters. Each mention of family unity felt like a knife twist. Then Madison took the microphone. "Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate my parents' incredible 45-year journey together." Her voice carried across the room, confident and clear. "Family is everything to the Martinez family. We support each other through good times and bad, and we never let outside forces tear us apart." She looked directly at me when she said it. "Mom and Dad taught us that loyalty means everything, that family comes first always, and that's a lesson I've carried with me every day of my life." The crowd murmured approval. I felt sick. "So please, raise your glasses to Miguel and Rosa Martinez." The ballroom doors burst open. Detective Williams walked in, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. Their presence immediately commanded the room's attention. Conversations died mid-sentence. Champagne glasses froze halfway to lips. "Madison Richards," Detective Williams's voice cut through the silence. Madison's face went white. The microphone slipped from her hand, hitting the floor with a sharp squeal of feedback. "You're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and identity theft." The room erupted. Guests gasped. Chairs scraped against the floor as people stood for a better view. Someone's phone was already out, recording. "This is a mistake," Madison said, her voice shaking. "I haven't done anything wrong." "You have the right to remain silent," Detective Williams continued, pulling out handcuffs. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." "Mom!" Madison looked desperately at our parents. "Tell them this is insane." But Mom just sat there, tears streaming down her face. Dad had his head in his hands. "You have the right to an attorney," Detective Williams continued, as she cuffed Madison's hands behind her back. "If you can't afford an attorney, one will be provided for you." "This is my parents' anniversary," Madison screamed as they led her toward the door. "You can't do this here." We can do this anywhere a crime has been committed, Detective Williams replied calmly. As they reached the door, Madison spotted me in the crowd. Her face contorted with rage. "This is all your fault," she shrieked. "You destroyed this family. You destroyed everything." The officers kept walking, but her voice carried back into the ballroom. "You're nothing without us, Jessica. Nothing. You'll regret this for the rest of your life." Then she was gone, and the ballroom fell into stunned silence. I walked to the front of the room, past tables full of shocked faces and whispered conversations. My parents looked up at me with expressions I couldn't read. Shame, anger, grief, all mixed together. "The woman you just watched get arrested," I said, my voice carrying in the quiet room, "stole $67,000 in child support payments from my 6-year-old son. For 6 years, she let him go while she spent his money on luxury items and family gifts." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. She forged legal documents. She manipulated court proceedings. She lied to everyone in this room about where her money came from. I looked at my parents. "And some of you knew. Some of you suspected. But you chose to look the other way because it was easier than asking hard questions." Mom started sobbing. Dad still wouldn't look at me. "I didn't want it to happen this way," I continued. "But when someone steals from a child, when they destroy a family with lies and greed, there have to be consequences." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. I hope it was worth it." The ballroom stayed silent as I walked out, leaving behind the wreckage of 45 years of marriage and a family that would never be the same. The newspaper headline read, "Local woman arrested for child support fraud at parents' anniversary party." The article included a photo of Madison being led away in handcuffs, her blue dress a stark contrast to the silver bracelets around her wrists. I folded the paper and set it aside as Tyler climbed into my lap with his cereal bowl. "Mommy, why is Aunt Madison in the newspaper?" "Because she made some very bad choices, baby." "Is she going to jail?" "Probably." He nodded seriously, then went back to his cereal. At 6, he understood more than I wished he had to. The restitution hearing awarded us $49,000. She'd spent $18,000 that couldn't be recovered, but the rest was coming back to us. Plus, interest and penalties. Not the full $67,000, but enough to change everything for Tyler and me. Marcus called. "I want to start seeing Tyler regularly. Real visits, not just the awkward supervised ones we tried before." Finding out that I was paying support all along, that I wasn't the deadbeat everyone thought I was, it changes things. I watched Tyler carefully arranging his cereal by color. "He asks about you, why you don't love him enough to help us." "Jesus, Jessica, I'm so sorry." "He deserves to know his father tried. He deserves to have a relationship with you." I'd like that a lot." Madison received 5 years in prison. My parents lost their country club membership, their social standing, most of their friends. The family I'd grown up with was broken, maybe beyond repair. But the family I was building, with Tyler, with Marcus, with people like Rebecca, who chose truth over comfort, that family was just beginning. That evening, as I tucked Tyler into bed, he asked, "Mommy, are we going to be okay?" "Yes, baby, we're going to be better than okay." "Can we get the good mac and cheese?" "We can get whatever mac and cheese you want." He grinned and went back to his coloring book. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Tomorrow, I'd quit one of my jobs. Next week, I'd start looking for a better apartment. Next month, Tyler would start seeing his father regularly. My phone rang one more time. Unknown number. "Hello?" "Jessica, this is Madison. I get one phone call and I hung up. Some conversations were over before they started. Some bridges were meant to burn. I turned off my phone and helped Tyler finish his coloring. We had better things to do than listen to excuses from thieves.